Hi everyone, thank you for joining me. This is another build that I started when I wasn't very well. Again, you've heard it before, but snot running out of my nose and just aches and a really thick head. And basically I was camped out on the lounge sofa for 7 days, and I would sleep there, and then every now and again when I felt up to it I would pull a table across and I would start constructing a kit. You've seen the blending that I started and finished. You've seen HMS Prince of Wales, which was one that I did some construction of. And then there was this one. Now this is a kit I've never built before. I didn't build it as a kid. This was first produced in 1965, believe it or not, so it's actually older than myself. It comes with a Jeep, but I haven't used it on this occasion. It's still waiting to be built and in the box. So when I started building this, I realised that the decals, although you've got American infantry shown there, the decals are actually for a buffalo that was used by British to cross the Rhine. And as a consequence, I thought rather than use the Jeep, I would use some infantry and put them inside the buffalo. Now, like the other builds, I've done a few stills, some photographs, as I was doing the build because I wasn't up to doing videos. So I'll show you some of those now, and then we'll get back to the video. Right guys, so you saw there that I'd created a base for this particular kit. It was the last of the circular coasters that I bought from the range for £2 something. So I've got to get some more of those. And all I did was I used some polyfiller to make the slope. But I wanted to use this stuff to create like a river, to give the impression of a river. The problem with this stuff is it is a very dark blue. Although I added some brown to the mix, it still came out quite a dark blue. The other thing is to stop because obviously it's liquid, to stop it from going all over the place, I put a barrier around the edge of the coaster. I used blue tack, which again was not a good idea because I don't know whether you notice in the one photo, is it the meniscus where the edge of the fluid is touching the blue tack? As this stuff reduces, because the blue tack was tacky itself, it kind of held on to this, wherever this material is. I don't think it's a resin. And so as this stuff reduced, it came down and the meniscus was quite pronounced, so I had to cut that off quite a bit. But once the polyfiller was dry, all I did was I threw some sand on, having brush painted some PVA glue on, and I just added some more coarse grit where the river met the bank. The brown colour that I created on the bank was this stuff. From Woodland Scenics, and it's burnt umber, and it's quite a watery paint, but I have to say I really enjoyed using that. Obviously it seeped into the sand to colour that no problem at all. I actually used it and painted it over the waves to try and darken them down to a brown a bit more. Obviously it dried in a matte coat, but then I just went over with the clear floor polish to get the gloss back, and I just kept doing that until I was happier that we were actually getting a muddy effect as opposed to a deep blue sea. But I really do like this, and I even used it to weather the buffalo a bit, to get that like mud effect. So I shall get the build now and chat a bit more about various other things that I did on the dyno. Right, so here it is guys. I hate putting this on the turntable because if I actually say something wrong, you'll see when I edit it that the vehicle is in a different direction because I've cut out part of the shot. I'll just go through some of the things on the dyno. The sand, as I mentioned, was coloured with the burnt umber, and then you can see this darker area which is just Agrax Earthshade that I've just dabbed on and seeped into some of the lower recesses. I was going to leave it at that because it looked quite good, but I decided it was a bit plain, so I added the grass tufts and some flowers. I brush painted, almost like dry brushed, some light green and yellow on the grass to try and break up the monotone of the colour of that. Now this is the material that I showed you, that dark blue material, but what I bought was some medium gel from Liquitex, and I used that to create the waves. I've been wanting to use Liquitex on the seascapes that I'm doing, and I thought it would be a good idea to test it out on this, and I'm glad I did, because certainly the medium gel, which is the only one I've used at the moment, if you apply it too thick, you get this like pale colour showing through here and through here as well. It doesn't dry see-through or clear, so you have to be careful of that, and I will have to be careful of that when I'm doing the seascapes. Of course, it may not be such an issue on the seascapes because they will be creating waves and I'll be dry brushing white over the top, so it may not be as noticeable. So the buffalo, I painted that the AK's British Olive Drab 1944-45, which is what my Churchills are all painted in and the Comets are painted in. I then did my usual thing of a sludge wash of black. Sorry, I'll have to go back a bit. After that was dry, clear coated it all. After that was dry, decals on. After that was dry, sealed the decals in. And then I could do the sludge wash. Once the sludge wash had dried sufficiently, I wiped most of it off, just trying to leave it in the recesses, and then what I did was I dabbed on with a brush the olive drab again to highlight some of the panels, and then I think that was it for the buffalo. What I've got to do then to give the impression it had been through the water was I think I initially painted on some of the medium gel from Liquitex to give it that gloss finish, and then in one or two locations I tried to give the impression of water that's kind of pouring down the side. There may be one or two places you can see it. Again, I used the burnt umber to give the mud effect, that the water is in fact muddy and not just a beautiful Pacific beach. And because that dulls down the finish, I then went over with clear floor polish. The other thing I tried to do, I think it's more prominent on the back of the vehicle, is just here. I tried to give the impression that the water was starting to pour off the tracks from this point down. And I don't think you can quite see it. I can't quite see it from the angle I'm at, but perhaps you can from looking at it on screen. You can perhaps see it best here, and that's giving the impression of water that's pouring down and off the tracks and back down there because of the slope. The infantry, they were painted in Vallejo colours, and basically it is British uniform practically all over, and then I picked out the webbing, like the sacks on the back, ammunition packs and things like that in khaki. The rifles were picked out in Doomball Brown from Citadel, I think. I didn't even paint the barrels, I left them black. The faces and hands were picked out in Citadel's Cadian flesh tone, and then I think I added Agrak Surf Shade over that to get some definition. There was kind of a happy mistake on these because I had to cut them off those bases that you saw in the stills, so they're not on their bases. I had to super glue them to the base interior of the buffalo, and this lieutenant or wherever he is, he accidentally fell this way, and it's worked really well because his hand is actually on the arm of this infantryman here, so it's almost like he's encouraging him for, you know, bailing out of the buffalo. So that's basically it. I've whittled on for quite some time, I do apologise. I just finished the base around the edge here in black, sanded down some of the material that perhaps had come down a bit and just finished it in black. But I'm really quite happy with this. I'm happy that I used the Liquitex because I've obviously identified something I've got to be aware of for the seascapes. And I really do like, as I say, that burnt umber from Woodland Scenics. I think it would be a really useful paint to use. Anyway, it's Saturday night. I hope your weekend is going well, guys. I'm really enjoying watching some of your videos. The Deformed cartoon group build is producing some wonderful builds, really am. And you know, Brian's BG, is it BG Model Works? Is that the name of the channel? You know, that was just genius. Really was, really like that. And I like Peter Burstow's Lancaster. Very good, very good. So yeah, keep up the good work, guys, because you're doing some great stuff. My Churchill is just going to be a build out of the box, one colour, and that will be it. No fun or frivolities. Look after yourselves, and I hopefully will catch up with you soon.